What is the meaning of the word major, intra, and extracellular electrolytes? What are they take part, or what are they are going to play? What type of roles in our body? So in this slide only, we are going to see that these are the some positively charged ions and cations are there. That is water plus electrolyte, our body will be stay hydrated. So whenever these electrolytes are there dissolved in the water, so our body will be hydrated. Now what is the importance of this hydration? How our body will be hydrated? So what is the reason behind that? In our body, there are various inorganic and organic compounds are there. See, our body consists of various organic and inorganic compounds, and the concentration of these in various compartments has been balanced in such a way that the body cells and tissue are having same type of environment. So these presence of these ions and fluids in our body, that is, it may be organic ions or inorganic ions. So their concentration in our body is maintained in such a way that all the cells of our body will possess, will have same type of environment. Now, in our body, various regulatory mechanisms are also going on simultaneously, which are going to operate and able to control the ionic balance of our body. So, various mechanisms, that is urination procedure, excretion procedure, respiration procedure, digestion, हे सगळं आपल्या बॉडीमध्ये सायमल्टेनियसली घडत असतं. Some of the ions we are taking in, some of the excrete material kiva waste material we are going to throw out of our body to maintain the physiological balance kiva same types of environment throughout our body. Now this is able to control the, so the function of this is to able to control the ionic balance of our body. Now, by maintaining this ionic balance, we are also going to maintain the osmotic balance of our body. Now, what is the meaning of the word osmosis? We have seen that it is passage of the solute molecules throughout the semi-permeable membrane. So, these ions are also maintaining the osmotic balance of our body. Then we have seen that some of the fluids, that is blood, stomach, some of the organs, some of the systems, that is our eye, they have maintained their specific pH at their levels. So due to the presence of these ions, waters and electrolyte, they will maintain our body in the state of hydrated. They also maintain the osmotic balance of our body. They also maintain the specific pH at the certain organ levels of our body. So these are the, they are going to maintain the concentration of solutes in various compartments of our body. Now, so this is the aim to, this is the aim behind to study the maintenance of use and maintenance and use of all those physiological ions which are present in our body, either in extra and intracellularly. Now, the slide is in front of you will gives us the comparative study of presence of total body mass in case of male and female in case of male. Now, if we are going to do the comparative study of male versus female versus male, so female is going to have a presence of 45% of solid and the remaining 55% is of fluids. Whereas in the case of male, if we are going to compare the presence of solute particles, solid particles versus a presence of fluid content, it is 40% and 60%. Now, this fluid compartment of our body is basically divided into three compartments or three types. The electrolyte concentration of, what is the meaning of the word electrolyte? That means those ions, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, what we have seen just now in the first slide. So these electrolyte concentration of body fluids, so this is body fluid. 55% in the case of female and 60% in the case of male. So these body fluids have been different in various body fluid compartments, and they are divided into three types. Now, what are those three types? Intracellular fluid, interstitial fluid, that is interstitial fluid, and plasma and vascular fluid. Okay, so what are those three types? Number one, intracellular, which is inside the cell. See the slide here depicting that the fluid which is present inside the cell, that fluid is known as intracellular fluid. Interstitial fluid, the fluid which is present outside the cell and in between the cell, that fluid is known as interstitial fluid. And next one is plasma or vascular fluid. Now, what is plasma? Intercellular, extracellular. Now, intracellular fluid, the fluid which is present inside the cell is known as intracellular fluid. It is present in the cytoplasm and constitute about 45 to 50% of the body weight, and its volume in our body or in the healthy person's body is about 30 liters. So the fluid which is present intracellularly in our body or in any healthy person, it is about 45 to 50% of the body weight. That means if a person is average weight is of 60 kg, the 70 kg, 35 kilogram of the body weight is consumed by the intracellular fluid. Then interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid is a fluid which is present between the cells, in between the cells, and which is going to constitute about 12 to 15% of the body weight. So it is about approximately 12 to 15% of the body weight is consumed by the interstitial fluid, and the remaining and the last type is plasma and vascular fluid. It's a fluid which is present within the blood vascular system. म्हणजे blood मध्ये जे काही fluid mechanism आहे, that one within the blood vascular system, and which is constitute about 4 to 5% of the body weight, and its volume is about 3 to 5 liters. Now we know our body constitute out 12 to 6 liters of the blood. That means the fluid which is present in the plasma, in the form of plasma or a vascular fluid, it is about 4 to 5%. Now the last type, that is extracellular fluid. What is the meaning of the word extracellular fluid? The fluid which is present in the interstitial, in between the cell and a vascular compartment. So extracellular fluid is nothing but the fluid which is present in the interstitially plus the fluid which is present in the vascular compartment. They are collectively known as extracellular fluid. So basically, how many types of there? Three types are there: intracellular fluid, extracellular fluid, and interstitial fluid. Intracellular, inside the cell; extracellular, interstitial plus vascular fluid, and the third will be extracellular fluid. So these are all we have depicted here. So this is vascular fluid. The fluid which is present intracellular or inside the cell is intracellular, and in between the cell, दोन सेलच्या मध्ये जे काही फ्लूइड प्रेझेंट असेल त्याला काय म्हणतात? इंटरस्टिशियल फ्लूइड. Now, it is the concentration of dissolved ions. Some chemical substances dissolved in the body fluid can be categorized into. Now we have seen that in case of male, in case of female, what type of solid components are there and what is the concentration of fluid inside the body are there. This we have seen. Then the fluid compartment are divided into 3 to 4 types: interstitial, intracellular, extracellular, vascular fluid. Now we know all these fluid contain a chemical substance which is dissolved in that body fluids, and they are categorized into 2 types. They are present in dissolved form in the fluid itself, but they are categorized into 2 types: non-electrolytes and electrolytes. Now what is the meaning of the word or the examples of the non-electrolyte? These are actually an organic molecule which do not generate ions in the solution. So हे असे organic compounds आहेत की जे if they are going to dissolve in the water, they are not going to form a ionic species किंवा charged species. जसं की सोडियमच्या बाबतीत Na प्लस आणि Cl मायनस होतं, पोटॅशियम क्लोराईडच्या बाबतीत K प्लस आणि Cl मायनस होतं. This is not the case with these type of solid solutes. They are known as non-electrolyte. They are also present in the body fluid, but they are not going to produce a charged species after uh, dissolution or after dissociation. So these are actually glucose, urea, and creatinine. So these are the examples of non-electrolytes which are present in the body fluid. Now, our body fluids also contain some of the electrolytes in their body. So what are those electrolytes? Opposite to that of non-electrolytes, these are the inorganic substances which will dissociate into a charged species, generating positive and negative ions in the body fluids. So non-electrolyte म्हणजे जे असे species they are not going to generate any charged species, and electrolyte means those species which will generate a charge after a dissociation. So they are divided into, or they are of various types. They are acids, they may be bases, they may be salt, few organic molecules like citric acid, lactic acid, oxaloacetic acid, etc. So these are all covered under the category of electrolytes. Now, both electrolytes and non-electrolytes are necessary to perform the physiological functions. So, the solutes which are there in the body fluid of either male or female or anybody, they are categorized into two types, non-electrolyte and electrolyte. Non-electrolyte are those which are not going to generate any ions in the solution, and electrolytes are those which will generate either positively charged and negatively charged ions in the solution. But combinedly, both are required to generate, to perform all the physiological functions of our body. Now, body water in which there are the electrolytes and non-electrolytes, they are present in the dissolved state. These are the substances required. What is the requirements of all those electrolytes and non-electrolytes in our body? So the requirement of those electrolytes and non-electrolytes are to perform to metabolize nutrients and the drug, to generate energy, to maintain and manufacturing of the body components. See, जे पण आयन्स इलेक्ट्रोलाइट किंवा नॉन इलेक्ट्रोलाइटच्या माध्यमातून आपल्या बॉडीमध्ये प्रेझेंट आहेत, दे आर गोइंग टू परफॉर्म वेरियस फंक्शन्स लाईक मेटाबॉलिझम ऑफ द न्यूट्रिएंट, जे की आपण कार्बोहायड्रेट, प्रोटीन्स, फॅट खाल्लेलं आहे त्यांचं मेटाबॉलिझम करून त्यांच्यापासून एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस करणं, then maintain and manufacturing of the body components. So these are the functions performed by all those electrolytes and non-electrolytes, as well as elimination of the byproducts. So this is also performed by those all physiological electrolytes and non-electrolytes which are there in our body. Now, before we move towards actual phenomenon, we will discuss some of the terminologies, that is osmotic pressure. So already we have discussed in the first lecture, first chapter, that is osmotic pressure. What is the meaning of the word osmotic pressure? It is a concentration of the electrolytes. Now we know what is the meaning of the word electrolytes. Dissolved ions in each compartment that create the osmotic pressure which hold water in the appropriate space. Now we know electrolyte are such a species which are present in the body fluid in their ionic forms. Now those all ionic forms which are there in the body fluid, they will maintain, they will create some type of pressure on the membrane of that cell, and that pressure is known as osmotic pressure. So atmospheric pressure or osmosis is nothing but when water only flows to the area of greater concentration of ions. See, we have seen that uh, this is an semi-permeable membrane of this cell, and if the water concentration of this side tube is less, then the water from this side will flow from this side to this side through the semi-permeable membrane. As water only flows from the area of greater concentration of ions to solubilize all those ions, that's why there is generation of unequal height of the water columns. This is due to the pressure exerted by this semi-permeable membrane to dissolve all these ions which are present beyond or which are present second side of the semi-permeable membrane. That pressure is known as osmotic pressure, which is exerted by the semi-permeable membrane to dissolve all extra amount of the solute which are present to next side of the semi-permeable membrane. That pressure is known as osmotic pressure. Now, what is the meaning of the word osmolality? Osmotic pressure is the pressure exerted by the solute molecules on that uh, semi-permeable membrane. Osmolality, it is the number of particles which are contained in 1 liter of water. So, it is the concentration and quantitative term which will gives the idea about how many number of particles are present in 1 liter of the solutions. Those particles are nothing but either electrolytes or generally electrolytes which are present in the dissolved state in that body fluids. So, how many number of electrolytes in the millimole which are there present in the 1 liter of water is known as osmolality, and it is measured in millimole per liter of the solution. So, it is the concentration by number. Now, these are all the electrolytes and non-electrolytes present in the body fluids are generally what are the examples of electrolyte, and the electrolytes are sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate, calcium and phosphate. These are all the charged species dissolved ions which are there in the body fluids are sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate, calcium and phosphate, categorized under the category of electrolytes, and the non-electrolytes which are not present in the dissolved state are urea, glucose, bilirubin and albumin. Some of the organic molecules are there which are not present in the dissolved state, but both electrolytes and non-electrolyte, they are going to exert the osmotic pressure on the semi-permeable membrane, which is known as plasma osmolarity. Now, if this is not maintained, the balance between the physiological ion and body fluid, if it is not maintained, if the water volume of any person is goes down, or if it is less than that of normal concentration, then that state is known as dehydration. Is a state in which water volume is low in all the three compartments. Now we have divided the water compartments and fluid compartment of our body into three types: intracellular, interstitial and plasma fluids. But if the situation is that if those all three compartments will reduce, will lose down, will minimize the level of presence of fluid compartment in those all spaces, this is known as, the state is known as dehydration, in which there is requirement of the to maintain the body fluid compartment. So the person will be suffering from weakness and all other conditions. Now, opposite to that, edema. Edema is a state in which fluid accumulate in the interstitial fluid. See, in the first case, there is lowering down in the concentration of all those fluids. In the second case, there is accumulation, extra amount of the fluid is stored, it is accumulated in between the cells, that is interstitial space, due to low oncotic pressure. It is due to the lowerage of the oncotic pressure, or it is due to the lowering of the protein pressure in the cell. That time, the fluid which is there, it is also accumulated in the interstitial space. Now, the third situation in which there is decreasing in the volume of our body. Now, what is the meaning of the word hypovolumia? Hypovolumia is refers to the state in which there is intravascular volume has been low. Now, what is the meaning of the word intravascular volume? Intravascular volume is nothing but a presence of fluid in the vascular compartment, that is blood. So, if the blood volume is less, that situation is known as hypovolumia. So, again I repeat, dehydration is nothing but state in which water volume, but not usually the amount of solute, has been low in all the compartments. Generally, water volume is reduced. Then, in case of edema, a condition in which fluid get accumulated in the interstitial space because of low oncotic pressure. Now, this is in which when we are going to see this situation, there will be the deposition of the fluid in between the cells. That situation is known as edema. This is known as dehydration. And the third situation, and very important situation, is hypovolumia, in which a state in which the intravascular volume has been reduced. Now, this type of will happen, or the hypovolumic situation will be there when these type of conditions are there. That is hemorrhage, severe blood loss if it is there due to any accidental or injurious to internal organs of our body. That time, the blood loss will happen, a situation in which hypovolumic condition will occur. Then the next one will be plasma loss through the burns. If a person is undergoing any severe burn condition, that time also the plasma, that is intravascular fluid volume, is reduced. Now, the third situation is diuresis. If a person is going to excrete out major amount of fluid, that is urine, then diabetic insipidus, in which the person is going to suffer from severe diabetic condition. Then GI loss, that is gastrointestinal loss of the body fluid through bleeding and vomiting and diarrhea, and decreased body fluid. So these are all combinedly known as, or combinedly occur due to the, will happen due to the decreasing in the body fluid. And this decreased amount of the body fluid is known as hypovolumia. Now, in order to overcome all these situations, that is hypovolumia, edema, dehydration, we have to maintain our body salt and water balance. Now, how we are going to maintain the salt and water balance of our body? By take an oral intake of fluid and electrolyte. We have to drink sufficient amount of water containing solute particles, sufficient amount of body fluids, liquid liquid forms, in which we are going to maintain the oral intake and electrolyte intake in our body. Now, a situation will occur that evaporation of solute, that is free water, across the skin and lungs. This is also results into the loss of electrolyte and physiological ion balance in our body. Excretion of water and electrolyte to the kidney, that is increasing in the output of urine and aldosterone. So, to overcome all these situations, we have to maintain the water and electrolyte balance in our body, to maintain the cell hydrated, to maintain the normal environment of the body cell. So, the fluid in which compartment is ionically balanced, Body has capacity to adjust silent variations in the electrolyte concentration of the body fluid. Every cell of our body has its own capacity. प्रत्येक सेल कडे तिची एक capacity आहे to maintain the physiological balance of all the electrolytes in the body cells. So if the concentration of electrolyte changes, then water will migrate across the cell membrane to re-establish the osmotic equilibrium. If any solute concentration or electrolyte concentration inside the cell is increased and body fluid is decreased, that time cell will absorb the fluid outside the cell. So in this way, the physiological balance of ion and fluid is maintained by every cell in our body. And in order to do this, a normal maintenance of all those ionic balance in our body, if body is unable to maintain this physiological balance by itself, body स्वतः जर तो balance maintain करू शकत नसेल, that time we are going for the external source, external treatment. When body itself enables to fail to correct an electrolyte balance, so that time we are going to give the following products to that person if his body is unable to maintain the osmotic balance of those ions and solute particles. And those are electrolytes, acid bases, blood products, carbohydrate, amino acids, and protein. These are all the products which are there present in the acid and ionic balance of our body.